Holmes, my dear fellow.
Part of your newly acquired American informality, Watson.
Sherlock.
Mrs. Vandeleur.
Jenny. Please call me Jenny. John, take Sherlock's coat. Now let me fix you a drink. You look like a whiskey man to me. Whiskey and soda. Am I right?
That would be...
And I'm gonna join you. John and I met at a conference in Zurich.
I was there for the skiing.
I'm a trained psychoanalyst. Surely you knew that.
I did not.
I find it so strange that you two can be such close friends and yet not talk about someone as significant as a fiancé.
I take no interest in such matters.
No. But then, as I understand it, Sherlock, you dislike and distrust women.
Ah, quickly, pour more wine.
Women are one of the necessary evils.
I take it you've never been in love?
My brain has always governed my heart.
Would you ever submit to analysis? You'd make a fascinating study.
West African.
Yes.
Incredibly ugly.
Have you traveled much, Sherlock?
I've always held that travel narrows the mind. On the whole, it's best I should not leave the country. It causes an unhealthy excitement among the criminal classes.
You know, it struck me that perhaps Lady Alice's clothes might be imbued for her killer with some special significance.
Go on.
He seems to have kept them for himself.
You mean for himself to wear?
Possibly.
Some fetishistic power, perhaps.
Do you know this? Richard von Krafft-Ebing's Psychopathia Sexualis.
Not intimately.
I warn you against some of the doctor's more antique moral stances, but the case studies are fascinating. It is, I have to say, an indispensable reference for anyone interested in sexual derangement.
Thank you.
You may keep it.
You're most kind.
It has a wonderful array of perversions. Sadomasochism, bestiality, exhibitionism, transvestism, coprophilia.
I'm out of the room for 10 minutes.
Pederasty, necrophilia, rape, mutilation.
Look what happens.
Lust, murder, the list goes on.
So it would appear. Holmes.
Strong and black, please, Watson.
Done.
When did the girl go missing?
Just after 9, sir. It took us nearly 2 hours to track you down.
Mr. Holmes, this is Lord Massingham.
This is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
It is his lordship's daughter, Lady Georgina, who has gone missing. She went up to her room just before 9.
It's her first season, Mr. Holmes. She's been rehearsing a presentation at court before the king. She was tired and terribly upset, poor thing, about the Bentley girl. She went up to her room. My wife went up about 10 minutes later. The door was locked from the inside. We could get no answer.
What did you do?
We forced the door.
The room was empty. Where is Lady Massingham now?
She's lying down.
Has she received any medical attention?
Our doctor has called. She's been sedated.
This is Lady Roberta, Lady Georgina's older sister.
Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson are helping the police with their inquiries.
You must find her, Mr. Holmes. We'll need you to find her.
May I see the room now?
Of course.
Give me a moment in the room alone.
Lord Massingham is, by all accounts, extremely close to the king.
Steady, Lestrade. Let's concentrate on the matter in hand. Holmes? Holmes? Holmes?
Always look up at a crime scene, gentlemen.
Anything?
Holmes is following a line of investigation.
Georgina! 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 Oh, is she back? Is she home? Hugo?
I've established, I'm afraid, how Lady Georgina was abducted.
Oh, no. I must find her. Please, please, I'm begging you. Please find her. Oh, please.
Perfect weather for a man with murder in his heart.
Yes, well, let's just hope we find her before anything terrible happens.
She is dead already.
What?
Of that I'm quite sure. Familiar, ethereal, and aromatic odor.
Chloroform.
Both girls were drugged. Lady Alice with the sleeping draught and the brandy. Lady Georgina with chloroform. Neither girl showed any sign of having defended herself.
You're saying it's the work of the same man?
Oh, without a doubt.
What, one girl fished out of the Thames, the next hung from a lamppost?
The murderer's modus operandi may change, Lestrade, but his distinctive trademark does not. In both cases, stockings. In the throat, tied about the neck. The distinctive knot, the signs of bondage. These are the killer's calling card. This man leaves his mark on his work, like a painter leaves his signature upon a canvas.
Georgina.
Are these your sister's clothes?
No.
It's one unidentified fingerprint from the brandy bottle.
You think it's the killer's?
Oh, he's our man, all right. I told you he'd leave his mark, Lestrade.
Yes?
The clothes, Lady Georgina.
Lady Georgina Massingham, yes.
The clothes she was wearing.
Belonged to Lady Alice Pentney. Yes. The clothes Lady Alice was wearing when she was abducted.
Yes, sir.
My advice to you, Lestrade, put every available man you have onto the streets of Belgravia.
Oh, God.
Notice how Lady Alice's clothes fitted Georgina Massingham?
Not really.
Almost perfectly.
I don't see that the size of the frock...
Perhaps she was chosen because she was the same height. Wait. The killer has a good, even trained eye for such things. It is possible he worked for a dressmaker's, visited by Lady Alice or Georgina.
Find out where they got their clothes made. Get a list of staff employed.
Certainly any future victims will conform to that physical type and be drawn from the same class.
Compile a list of all the daughters of the aristocracy that fit the physical pattern.
Yes, sir. Oh, and I would like to examine the clothes Lady Alice was wearing when she was found. Would you arrange to have them taken to Baker Street?
You'll have to sign for them.
Keep up the good work, Lestrade.
It seems we are searching for a multiple murderer, responsible for the deaths of both Lady Alice and Lady Georgina. Normally, such men prey on easy targets, prostitutes, children. This man's victims are drawn from the highest echelons of society. They are cared for, chaperoned wherever they go. And yet, beneath the cover of this fog, he has taken them from under the very noses of their parents.
This is no Ripper. No frenzied lust murderer. He is charming, presentable, and he selects his victims with enormous care. He's very strong, extremely agile. And once he has them, he must take them somewhere. His lair. Because he spends time with them. Stripping them of their clothes, binding them at the wrists and the knees. There comes a point where the killer takes one of the girl's stockings, pushes it into her mouth. I believe the gag produces the kind of noises from the victim the killer finds exciting. He then takes the second stocking, puts it around the throat. Possibly, he uses a short length of wood, twisting it to tighten the ligature, like a tourniquet. There seems to be no evidence of sexual congress, but make no mistake. Our man is a sexual sadist. He gains voluptuous pleasure from the fear and pain and degradation of his victims. Finally, he dresses the body in the clothes of the previous victim that he's kept especially for that purpose. The clothes, the ritual redressing of the body are of the utmost symbolic value to the killer.
Right. There are, at present, no suspects.
The police are, as usual, completely out of their depth. There is something I'm afraid I have withheld from our friends at the CID.
Withholding information is a serious business, Holmes.
Oh, nonsense. I tell as much or as little as I choose. That is the advantage of being unofficial.
Well, what is it?
Well, Georgina was dressed in Alice's clothes. Alice was dressed in shabby clothes. Logic dictates there must be an as yet unidentified, more humble first victim from whom those poor quality clothes were taken.
Yes.
If she can be identified, even found, she will, I have no doubt, be an invaluable source of evidence. The first victim always tells the detective more than any other.
Oh, this is satinette. Thinner, cheaper version of satin. In this instance, mixed with wool. Fairly sure it is American in manufacture. From the mills of New York, I should. What is it?
Something here, Holmes. It feels like a coin.
Oh, it's a popular hiding place amongst the poor.
Sixpence?
No. Half sovereign.
Remarkable, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson. There's a marked difference in weight.
There's something else. Looks like a pay slip.
Here's the name of the firm. W.G. Bilney.
Bilney's.
You know of such an establishment?
It's a shoe shop at the West End.
Oh, you must pay them a visit, Watson. We're looking for an American girl, probably not older than 20, outstanding looks despite her humble circumstances, refined manners, 5 feet 5 or 6 inches tall, slim, shapely, fair skin, dark hair.
I do have other demands upon my time, Holmes. I am to be married.
I'm aware of that, Watson.
Could possibly spare an hour or two.
Let us hope that that will be sufficient.
Mr. Holmes,
Lady Roberta.
my father is out at the moment. He's dealing with the funeral arrangements.
I wonder, may I see Georgina's room once more?
Of course.
Do you have no photographs of your daughter, Mr. Vanderleer?
I'm afraid not. I lost all my personal belongings in a fire back in New York.
I do. There was one girl who fits your description exactly, who was, in fact, American.
No kidding.
But she went by the name of Sarah O'Brien.
O'Brien was her mother's maiden name.
This really is most awkward. The girl in question came to England as a confidential maid to an American heiress who was betrothed to an English peer. Upon the lady's marriage, the girl continued in her employ, but by Christmas of that year, her services were no longer required. In the new year, she came to me seeking employment.
Do you remember the name of the American heiress?
I believe her money came from pork packing. It's slipped my mind, I'm afraid.
What happened to my daughter, Mr. Bilney?
Are you a religious man, Mr. Holmes?
I'm a skeptic by nature. O Lord, if there is a Lord, save my soul, if I have a soul. I am aware that religion can be a very great comfort to some in times like these.
I fear that my father may be losing his faith. He wants me to read something at the service. But I do not know if I shall have the strength.
I'm sure you'll be able to do as your father asks. For what it's worth, I think you'll emerge from this ordeal a very remarkable young woman indeed.
Thank you.
Perhaps you should attach something personal of Georgina's to your funeral wreath.
What do you mean?
A memento mori.
What sort of thing?
Something suggestive of her spirit. It seems she liked dancing.
Yes.
Perhaps her dancing shoes. Where did Lady Georgina have her shoes made?
At Bilney's.
Sarah O'Brien committed suicide. Or so the coroner decided. Threw herself into the Thames.
What in the coroner's opinion had driven her to such drastic action?
He could find no motive. One intriguing thing, she was recovered from the water naked.
Intriguing?
Well, highly unusual for a woman if she intends to take her own life. Perhaps Bilney will recall the name of that mysterious lady Porkpacker.
Well, she cannot be that difficult to track down, Watson. Despite the fact that London is awash with American heiresses seeking titled husbands. I'll set Lestrade onto it. Even though he's utterly devoid of reason, he's as tenacious as a bulldog once he understands what he has to do. What happened to the body?
Well, that I know from Bilney. She was buried in Whitechapel at his expense.
Oh, good work, Watson.
Thank you, Holmes. I think you would have appreciated my performance. I assumed the character...
Forgive me, but didn't you mention you had an engagement at 2?
It's not 2, is it?
Gone 2, my dear fellow.
Oh, but I'm late, Holmes. Oh, I'm horribly late. I'm meant to be Mrs. Van der Leur, Bond Street, and damn bloody boots.
More haste, less speed, Watson.
She wants my opinion on a dress.
Really?
Not just any dress, Holmes. It's the dress.
I didn't realize you were an expert on haute couture.
No, damn well I'm not.
I, on the other hand, have been studying the fashion plates. Pale grey is all the rage. With a white tulle boa and pink malmaisons. One could cover the scenes of these crimes with a half-crown piece. He's fishing in a very small pond, Lestrade. Any matches on the thumbprints?
No. A letter to the Commissioner from the King, though. His Majesty suggests our detectives be improved. He says they are not what they should be. He expects the matter will be resolved with no further loss of life. I might as well resign now, save everyone the bother.
Self-pity is an extremely unattractive quality, Lestrade. Now, I need permission to exhume a corpse.
What?
One Sarah O'Brien, fished out of the Thames July this year.
I very much doubt that I should be
Better
able...
make sure we're not held up by red tape. The King, Lestrade. Remember the King.
My God, it's filthy out there. It is impossible to breathe. The hospital's filling up with respiratory cases.
Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. How is the dread?
What? Oh, yes, too late, Mr. Whole damn kit and caboodle. What in God's name are you doing, Holmes? You look like you're about to dance the fandango.
You are developing an unexpected vein in porky humor, Watson, against which I must learn to guard myself. There.